And we're live.
Hey.
I think. Jace just messaged me.
Ooh.
Okay, well, if you want to join, you are welcome. Where's the link?
You're welcome.
Where's the link? Here it is. And we're live. Oh, there it is. Okay. Wow, that's a long delay.
Yeah, it is a really long delay.
That's so weird.
It's crazy that.
Anyway, hi. How are you? What's up? Oh, just too bad. Life crashing into stuff. Unfortunately, that is my life.
Yeah, I feel that. I have less disaster zone now, though, without the kitten. So that's great.
I guess.
I'm the disaster now. I can't blame it on the kitten now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm also trying to figure out what to get food, but nobody delivers what I want.
I hate that. It's so frustrating.
It's really silly what I want, but yeah.
Emma and I just have kind of defaulted to pizza or sushi, and she doesn't like pizza, so we just always get sushi.
Yeah, I've been trying to vary what I'm eating because otherwise I will order machi ramen every single day of my life.
I feel that.
I'm like, I should try to do. So I'm like, maybe I'll do something like Italian today.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to spend money on the macaroni grill. So where is the Olive Garden with the breadstick? But they don't have delivery.
What?
Yeah, not in my area, at least, it looks like. I searched on Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats, and then I went to Olive Garden, and it doesn't, I can do to go and then go pick it up myself, which I'm like, it's on the road, but that's way too much effort, and I'm too lazy for that.
So it looks like there are some people here.
Hey.
But I want to kind of draw out the time a little bit.
Sure.
Just give a few more people to arrive. So why don't we, do you want to hear that story I was going to tell you about the sexist coworker?
Yes, please tell me.
And whoever is here, please say hi in the chat.
Yes.
What I'm eating, by the way, is vegan key lime pie.
Ah, the vegan key lime pie.
So I had this coworker at my second to last job who, he would say things that were kind of annoying sometimes, but sometimes you work so hard to just kind of let them go to keep the peace and stuff. Until one day he was talking to me and I wanted to make coffee, and it was like 20 feet to the coffee station. It's not like it was a long way. So I was like, walk with me and let's talk and I'll get coffee. And he was like, no, we're having a conversation. And he blocks the doorway. And big guy, okay? Really tall, really can block the doorway. And I was like, what did you just do? No, I'm sorry. And that was it. That was the end of our relationship.
Yeah, what the hell?
You can't trust a human being after they do that.
No, thank you.
Nope. Anyway, on topic of sexist coworkers.
Yeah. Super great times. Oh, what's the... Oh, so I have to hit no to that? I mean, sure.
Let's publicize this on Twitter.
Okay, begin ordering from Macaroni Grill.
Hashtag LGBTQ. Okay, go.
Wait.
All right. Well, hey, it's Devin.
Hey!
Eva was here first, but it was so long ago that I can't see your comment anymore. Anyway, my token pan was not able to make it to the stream today, and our token gay is is MIA. So,
woohoo!
Jace says my token gay is MIA rhymes.
I love it. Oh, I'm the token ace, at least.
Yeah,
that person showed.
Yes,
I'm your ace of base. Because I saw the sign.
What is ace of base like? Is it a reference to something that I am not familiar with?
The band Ace of Base.
Okay.
I saw the sign and it opened up my eyes, and I am happy now living without you. Haven't left you. Oh, oh, oh.
Sounds like the Ace anthem.
It kind of is. It really
Perfect.
is.
Hey!
Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer. What's up?
Yes, Emily. Really, Ace of Base. All right.
All right.
That's who I am.
So I suppose another person may or may not join us on the stream. Mm-hmm. Up to another 2 people, and then we might have 2 gays, and that would be weird. But last thing I want is another gay male dominated.
Wait, did we erase already? Did erasure already happen?
No, it's too early.
That was the ally.
All right, welcome all allies. Okay, so I don't feel like waiting anymore. So
yeah.
All right, let's introduce ourselves. You introduce. I'm gonna keep eating pie.
Okay, you keep eating. I'll stop looking at Grubhub or DoorDash. Okay, anyway. Hi, I'm Clardy, and I'm an urban fantasy author. I don't know what this voice is. And I am Ace. Yo. I don't know fully. It's always something that's fluid and exploring, but pretty much a solid Ace girl. Unfortunately, hetero-romantic. And I have characters who, my main character in my urban fantasy series, also Ace, with a wide cast of diverse gender and sexual orientations and all that jazz.
Awesome.
There you go.
Good jazz. I am Liora Sophie, and this is my channel, and I am an author of urban fantasy and spiritual fiction, and I also post mental health hacks now. That's my new thing. And all of my characters are LGBT in some way, except for like 1 or 2. 2. Okay, yes, I have 2 straight boys in my cast, and everyone else is not straight.
That's it.
Or not straight or not cis, or everyone is not straight or not cis or not traditionally masculine or not white, and you can or some kind of combination of those. Anyway, so yeah, and this is a stream for an LGBTQ&A, just asking and answering. So every question is welcome. Ask them in the chat or send it through the anonymous form. I have that open now, so I'll see it. And just, don't be shy. We're here because we're here. We're on our best patient behavior, right?
Yes.
We did a lot. We did a big Zen meditation before this. And no question is too stupid or too disrespectful. Just ask it all. Just avoid asking are you sure you're blank because you haven't just met the right person yet?
Please don't
Everything except for that is fine. And I'm eating key lime pie that my mom made. And there were supposed to be 2 other hosts, and they bailed. But yeah, I do know that AuthorTube karaoke is happening in parallel to this, and that is not my fault. This stream was scheduled multiple weeks ago, and AuthorTube karaoke came in on my slot without asking permission, and I'm not harboring any resentment towards them. I know that BC was having a lot of internet troubles, and it's fine. You know, it's fine. It's really fine. Anyway, please feel free to stream hop and, whatever. It's all good. This is up here. This is also going to just be a resource. I'm going to probably take it and break it down and upload it as individual videos in a playlist. I want there to be a place where people can watch these questions being answered.
Yeah.
And it's fine if you watch it later. And it's fine if you watch it live. If you watch it live, you get to ask questions. So that's the story.
All about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and not, sorry.
No,
that's behavior.
Fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So,
yeah, that's true. There are a lot of streams happening, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we just hop on in and start answering the questions?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Do it.
So I got a whole bunch of questions through the Ask Anonymously question thing form that I made, and I edited them a little bit just for like grammar / or fitting into the StreamYard banner size so that I could put them on screen. So if you're not sure if that's your question or not, because it looks like what you asked about, but the wording is slightly different, then it's your question. That's the answer. So why don't we start, since I'm still trying to eat this key lime pie? I'm going to start with a question. I'm going to start with a question that is pretty much your area of expertise.
Okie dokie.
What does it mean to be Ace, Grace, Demi, Aro? What's the difference between all these little different definitions that seem to kind of fall under the Ace umbrella, but how can you be one without the other, or one and the other as well? What are all those things?
All right. Well, they all, like, Ace is, or asexual is the big picture, the big umbrella. Where you fall into, and then you can have Grace, which is graysexual, demisexual, and within those you can then have the romantics. So you have the aromantic, gray romantic, biromantic, panromantic, heteroromantic, homoromantic, all of those. You have a million of those. So the difference between
homoromantic when you love homos?
Yes. Exactly. That would be correct, actually.
I guess technically, no.
Technically, you're not wrong.
No, it's when you are interested in a romantic partner of a similar gender.
Yeah.
Same or similar.
Same or similar, yes. And so that's the difference for the sexual part of it and for the romantic part of it. For myself, I say that I am heteroromantic asexual, in that I am attracted romantically to the opposite, or somebody who identifies as the opposite gender, usually male. But I don't have, but for sexuality wise, asexuals do not experience sexual attraction, which for some people it's a weird thing to define. And it's something that a lot of people, it's a gray area of what that means. For most asexuals, what it means is that, like, when you see like a beautiful actor, very aesthetically pleasing actor or actress, and you're like, man, I'd put, they're on my bang list, basically. They're on my it's okay to cheat on my wife list. When couples have that really weird list, they have those, like, I'd bang that person. Aces don't have that response. We don't, like, a one-night stand is not at all possible. Really, because you don't have that need for sexual intercourse with another person. There's no need for it. There can be sex positive or sex repulsed as well. So there are aces who will participate in it, but they don't crave it. They don't need it. If they want to please their partner, then they're sex positive. If they have no interest whatsoever, do not want to experience whatever, that's sex repulsed.
Can I ask a thing about that? Is it like okay, you know, for how would that work in a relationship? I mean, let's say an ace person is with a sexual person and the ace person is not sex repulsed. Is that like okay for them, or is it some kind of, you know, pressure manipulation? I don't know. It feels, I'm just being a devil's advocate here because I know that it's not.
It's okay.
It's a question that I see come up a lot, you know, like, isn't that kind of wrong?
Am I not really ace then, kind of thing?
No, it's more like, well, you might be really ace, but like, is it wrong for you to do the sex part just for your partner, basically?
I don't think it's necessarily wrong because it depends on the relationship. Mm-hmm. It depends on if it's a healthy one,
right?
Because if that's the only thing, and then your partner doesn't do necessarily the things that you want to do, not necessarily like that, then it just depends on the relationship itself. Not necessarily a bad thing to do if it's something that you want to do. If you want to participate in it, then it's fine. If it's against your will, obviously, no, it's not fine.
Right.
Very not right.
Right. But
you shouldn't feel afraid to talk with your partner about it either.
That is a golden rule that I feel like the hets have a lot of trouble with sometimes, and really could stand to learn from the LGBT community, who really does this, like, really, I mean, talking about all the stuff and not being afraid to talk about the stuff. It's like a major thing, especially on TV, especially in like rom-com.
TV.
Oh my God, just freaking talk to each other. You know what I mean? Just talk.
The TV aces are all robots, and that drives me insane. Or we're prude robots.
Oh,
it's just bad. But so with that, you have the sex repulsed, you have sex positive. With the like aromantics means they don't crave any romance. They don't necessarily want any hugs or kisses or anything like that. Not into it. It is possible to be aromantic but not asexual as well. Just throwing that out there. I don't know much about it, but it's a thing. With Grace and Demi's. So a Demi, and this is something that I still kind of borderline am not sure for myself, but for Demi romantics, it's you have to establish a kind of bond with the person before you can experience sexual attraction. So you have to kind of like be friends first. So Demis are the heck no to the one night stands. They cannot do it. It does not work for them at all. And that's where I'm not sure yet for myself, but that's my own thing. Cause like, I don't know. I haven't had those experiences in like 10 odd years or something. So I don't know. But for Demis, that's their full thing. And this is where Demis really get pushed out of LGBT spaces, especially if you are demisexual who is heteroromantic. It's like, well, obviously you're just a het who's picky. And that's what it's awful.
Oh.
It's so bad.
Okay.
It drives me insane. And that's where I've had my own issues with it because I am asexual who is heteroromantic. And people are just like, well, obviously you haven't met the one yet, or you haven't done it. And it's so bad. So that's that. With gray sexuals, it's a gray area. It's kind of experiencing sexual attraction once in a while or for certain people. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's from a bond like Demi's. It could just happen, but it doesn't happen often enough. And I feel bad for a lot of grays because I feel like they get to be the most confused with themselves because they're constantly questioning it based on what society has told them they're supposed to be. So I feel like gray sexuals get one of the roughest paths under the asexual umbrella because they are always like, but I'm attracted to this person, but not these people here. Definitions of everybody.
I really have an issue with people under ABC umbrella, whatever it is, umbrella, getting like hate from inside the community. That's a real big thing. It basically from anybody who is not the L or the G, we all experience it.
Yeah.
And which is really like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? If you're not a lesbian or gay, then, we all hear it for one reason or another. Bisexual people who show up with an opposite gender partner to Pride, or aces who are like, well, this is for sexual minorities. This is for people who experience attraction in different ways, and you guys don't experience attraction at all, and so therefore you don't belong here. Or trans people, where it's like, your thing is actually a gender identity and not a sexuality. So like, why are you even here? And, etc. Intersex, I don't even know. People who are like not sure. I don't know why there is a lot of inter-community hate, and that is really upsetting because, we all experience there is one experience that is universal to anyone under the rainbow, which is that we spend a lot of time not knowing who we are and not sure who to talk to about it.
Yeah.
And then, which is the main reason we need pride and representation, and to hear adults talk about it, and comprehensive sex education that covers all of these things. And so if we could just not fight amongst ourselves, that would be nice. kind of. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yes,
do you feel like we've exhausted this question and could move on to the next one?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's a lot of info.
Yeah. Okay. So anybody in the chat, if you have a question that comes up, please chat your question, or you can also send an anonymous question through this form. Wait, let me get the link because I wasn't able to post it earlier for some reason, and I think it's just because it wasn't live yet. Copy. All right. Anonymous question.
They didn't deliver my package.
What?
Oh, the postal service being a jerk to me.
Oh, rude.
They are. They keep I don't know what it is about my place here, but they really struggle to send me packages. They give up real fast. I'm like, who's returned to sender? Why? Why did you return it? Put it back.
Hey, doll.
Hey!
Thank you for the like, and thank you for stopping by. And please enjoy. Say hello to AuthorTube karaoke from us.
Yes.
And hopefully
Tell
we'll
them
join
hello from us, like that.
And from me, tell them, good morning, Baltimore. And then hopefully we'll be able to join you next time. Let's try to coordinate. Next time. Okay. So with that, we are moving on to the next question. There are so many good questions.
You know what? I want to find something to show people later. That's really funny that I made a long time ago.
All right, cool. Okay, let's go to this one because that seems like something. I'll let them know. You're invited to sing when you finish. If you finish, lol. Okay, cool. Thanks. I will. Cordy might have to go to bed, but I will definitely pop in if you're still live when we're done. Okay. So here's our next question. What is the difference between bisexual and pansexual? Now, there was supposed to be a pansexual host as well here, but pansexual host could not make it. And so I'm going to field this all on my own with some help from Cordy, who also has knowledge, right?
I have some knowledge.
You have some knowledge. Okay. So let's just start with linguistically. Bisexual, the bi means two, and pan means all. And so kind of on the surface, basically, if you look at these two words, bisexual sort of addresses attraction to two different options, and pansexual kind of is attraction to all the options. Now, when you break these down culturally, because the definitions have changed over the years, bisexual started out as attraction to men and women. And that kind of developed into a much more broad, much more inclusive label, which it now is. And now it kind of means attraction to at least two genders or to at least two options, and which includes, two
or more,
everything, basically at least two or more, attraction to not just one. And some people think of it as attraction to similar genders or different genders, two options. Some consider it to be attraction to people with a gender and agender, two options. Some people consider it to be, just what it used to be, which is men and women. But that includes trans men and trans women, because trans men are men and trans women are women. And but the thing is that it's an inclusive enough label that a lot of pansexuals identify as bi as well. And so at the end of the day, these two labels overlap a lot. They are very, very similar labels, which is why they're considered to be under the same umbrella, which is why there's only the B in the acronym. And it's kind of the same. We are kind of the same, whatever. We're the same kind of creature. The flags are very similar. The flags are very similar. The bi flag is blue, purple, pink, and the pan flag has a yellow stripe in the center. And a lot of pansexuals identify as bi as well. And it is true that, like, the distinction matters to some people, which is the bottom line. These are very similar, but the distinction matters to some people. And it seems to matter more to the bisexuals than the pansexuals. Now, here's my personal take on it, which I haven't really heard a lot of other people say, which is, I feel, for me, that the gender of a person is a part of my attraction. So I am attracted to someone because they are a man or because they are a woman. It just doesn't matter whether they are a man or a woman.
Sure.
Whereas pansexuals often report that they don't care what the gender is. It doesn't, like, they're like, I'm attracted to a person, not a gender. I'm attracted to a person, not whatever's in their pants. And I don't really feel that way. I really feel like it matters to me whether you're a man or a woman. I just am capable of being attracted to both. And that is why I kind of stick with the bi label and not the pan label, even though I know that I do have, the potential to be attracted to trans people and agender people and androgynous people and non-binary. It's just, I kind of, because the gender does matter to me, that's what I feel like for me is the difference. And I just also have never really thought to consider myself pan. Of all the ways that I have questioned my sexuality, which is a lot, I never really, pan just was never a thing I needed to feel and I needed to explore. So that's that.
I think another interesting thing about it is that a line that I've heard describing the difference is that there's not a full difference between them, except that the definition or the label itself matters to some.
Right.
Forget the direct quote that it was, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
The distinction matters to some.
People.
There's also kind of like one of the other ones I've heard, and you'd have to confirm this one for me, or just we can discuss, is that with bisexual, it's not always like a 50-50 split of attraction.
Right.
There are bisexuals who are slightly more attracted to men versus women versus, and there's with pansexual, it's like it just doesn't matter. I like everyone, and that's another distinction that I've seen portrayed for other bisexuals, at least.
That's a good point. That's another thing that we, struggle with a lot in the like internal community thing is like, if you're a 90-10 bisexual, are you still bisexual? Or if you're an 80-20 bisexual, are you still bisexual? The answer to all those questions is yes.
It's no ground beef at this point. And are you grass-fed or pasture-raised? Sorry, I work at a grocery store.
Okay. Okay.
Get it. Yes, you are.
That's okay. Anyway, moving right along. Yes. Yes. I don't know. I think pansexuals can probably have a preference as well. Probably. If you are pansexual and you have a preference, that's legit. You're still pansexual. It just seems to be the vibe that for a lot of them, they report that it really doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. That just seems to be what I hear. Okay. I got some new questions. Ooh, okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. What's up? Everything okay?
Apparently I have to call my mom. I'm going to text my mom real quick.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start on this question that is about the it's true. I agree with this. Androgynous people are hot. So I know you and I spoke before about coming to terms with being bisexual and loving and having faith in God and struggling with that pretty heavily. So yes. So your question is in fact on my list to answer. Yes. Yes, I'm going to acknowledge that. Also, you can be that 80-20 and consider yourself straight or gay. Yes. Yes, that is true. I personally feel, and this is a thing that I kind of sometimes struggle with, if you're 80-20, if you're like 95-5, like, okay, you can consider yourself gay or straight, but if you're an 80-20, there is kind of a part of me that feels like, in a way, you're sort of contributing to bisexual erasure. And it's not that, I'm not going to tell you how to define yourself. Obviously, we don't do that. We do not tell other people how to define themselves. But there is kind of a thing about bisexuals coming out, and that it is kind of important for us to come out and to be bisexual so that we get more visibility and so that more people know about us and find out about us and hear about us and learn to accept us. And so kind of disappearing yourself under the one label or the other label is, I feel like I don't really like it. It's not up to me to say it's not legit or it's not valid. Like, it is. You can do whatever you want. I don't like it so much. That's all. I'm just saying I don't like it. That's me personally. But obviously, yes, it is legit. It's legit to be any of those. You can be 95-5 and not have to consider yourself hetero-flexible. You can.
I have never heard that term, hetero-flexible.
You've never heard hetero-flexible?
I've never heard that.
Congratulations.
Sorry, that's just like, what? It seems like a Scott Pilgrim line.
Oh, speaking of that, I'm in lesbians with you. Right. Here's the thing I just want to say for the sake of this, whoever is watching this now or whoever's watching this later, metrosexual is not a thing. That is not a label that anybody inside the community ever uses. There's a reason there's no M in the acronym. It is not.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing. Nobody inside the community has ever identified as metrosexual. It's just cis het misconception at this point. So no.
It's only okay like a joke. Because so Harry Potter musical,
mm-hmm.
They have the Sorting Hat and the Scarf of Sexual Preference. And it's great. It's kind of a funny joke. And so they don't use the Scarf of Sexual Preference until the sequel, Harry Potter sequel. But Harry Potter does get sorted as metrosexual.
That's fair. That's
really funny, though. Ron is curious, and Hermione is waiting for marriage.
Yes.
It's really funny. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The only time that I'm allowing that is for that.
That's all right. That's okay. All right. Okay.
I found my stupid post, by the way. It took me forever to scroll through my stuff.
Okay. What's the topic? What's it about?
It's about ace people. So this is when did I even make? I made this like 2 years ago. It's my most popular post on Tumblr. When I was really kind of believing in myself and be like, I'm ace, and this is what I'm defining myself as. Because I've questioned it for a very long time. And so, but it's really, really hard as an ace person who still like is romantic to have a partner and to find somebody. Also, just to find somebody who is also ace, because that would be the preference, is to have another ace person. And so my stupid, like, I don't know, should I share? I can share my screen because you can
share your screen if you want.
I'll share oh shoot, which Tumblr is it?
Unicorn.
Hold on, let me close the wrong Tumblr.
There's no such thing as a wrong Tumblr.
Well, it is what I'm sharing screen.
Tumblr is valid.
Everything about Tumblr's wrong. What are you talking about? Okay, so this is my post here. And it's, can you see it? Sorry. I hope you guys can see it. Oh, do I gotta play it? Whoa, there we go. Can you see it?
I am just taking the banner away.
Okay.
It's very small. Can you like zoom?
I can make it bigger.
Yeah.
You go like this. Is that better?
Okay. Me trying to locate other ace people. Well, I love Ace of Base. Ace hardware all the time. I love me some space. My favorite shipping company is Ace Shipping and Handling, and my favorite One Piece character is Ace, and I sure love getting 4 aces in poker. My computer is an acer. I love watching The Amazing Race. If you like these things too, friend me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the most popular post on Tumblr.
Yeah, I definitely have one of those for the buy.
If anybody needs, if you're defining, you're trying to find ace people in your neighborhood, just recite that and we'll come up. Just start singing the sign from Ace of Base and we'll all come.
Seems like a good technique.
We'll all come running.
Okay. So Jace. No, brought up the Kinsey Scale. Oh. And I think we should mention that, give that a mention. So the Kinsey Scale is and I'll tell you what, I have a funny twist on this at the end. So the Kinsey Scale is basically, here, let me show. It's a scale that, basically says kind of everyone is somewhere on this scale from 0 to 6, where with your attraction, you can be, on one end is only exclusively attracted to opposite different genders, and all the way at the other end is exclusively attracted to the same genders, and then bisexuals are like everything in between or something.
The wording on this makes me kind of laugh.
What?
Some of the wording on the scale kind of makes me laugh.
Yeah. So
only incidentally.
Right, incidentally. Right, as if. But
one incident, okay?
We have a lot of jokes in the bi community that's like every couple weeks somebody posts a meme in a bi group that's like, I'm bisexual, so that means I'm attracted to exactly 3 male celebrities and every woman on the planet. And it's like that sometimes, because it just is like that sometimes. Even if you are a solid 50-50 bisexual, you can sometimes feel like, oh my God, I'm attracted to all the women, and like so many men just make me want to barf. but I'm attracted to them anyway. Mm-hmm. So the theory, Kinsey's theory, is not really considered canon anymore. Kind of, it's sort of a thing that was done a long time ago that, a person that he kind of divided the entire population up on this, you're either gay, straight, or something in the middle. And there are a lot of things that are problematic about this scale. And so it's not really considered to be it's not really the way that we in the community think of ourselves. We don't really, we talk about it, sometimes. but it's not really the main method of identifying your sexuality. That's what I think. And for an added bonus, so does anybody here know what complex numbers, like numbers that are imaginary?
Bringing math into this.
Yes. Hey, this is Kinsey brought math into this.
Kinsey, no.
Okay.
Wait, I know the term. I just can't remember for the life of me.
So whatever. I made a T-shirt for someone a couple of years ago that said A plus BI. My number on the Kinsey scale is complex, because it was like you have to add another dimension in order to get the ace part.
Yes.
So you're like,
yeah.
A plus BI is like I'm ace and, biromantic kind of. So yeah. Anyway, that's all. So it's just a tool to help explain the range to outside people. Yes, sure. It needs a z-axis for ace. Exactly. That's literally exactly what I said. Yeah, complex numbers. Yay! No! People are here. Okay.
You're not here. I don't stand math. I'm sorry.
Okay, whatever. Okay, so what did we cover? We did bisexual, pansexual, and we did the one about Ace, Grace, Demi. Okay, so let's do this one. How do you resolve what the Bible says about homosexuality being a sin? Really struggle with the bisexuality and the idea that I'm going to hell because of who I might love or find attractive. I'm just taking a deep breath because there's a lot of talking coming up.
Take it easy.
Okay. So there are a couple of different things wrapped up in this question. First of all, let me just mention a little bit what the Bible says about being about homosexuality. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh crap! I don't have my English version. Let me just real quick pull up that thing. Leviticus 18:22. I know the reference by heart now because of so many years of fighting about it.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what it is. Leviticus 18:22. You shall not lie with a male as with a female. It is an abomination. Oh no, it's with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Which is interesting. It's interesting in a lot of ways. At first glance, it just looks like don't be gay. It's an abomination. But if you study Bible, as I did for many, 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 many years, mm-hmm. You know that no Bible verse is ever what it is just on the surface. And the first thing that pops out at me now is the fact that it's males and women, that those are different
terms entirely.
That there's a male, and which is a sex, and a woman, which is a gender. Mm. And why? What's going on there? There are a lot of things that are going on there, and there are a lot of rabbis. I don't really know about the Christian community. I'm really kind of more of an expert on the Jewish community, and there are a lot of rabbis who have come out with statements about this particular verse. There are a lot of ways that a lot of different opinions that try to explain it and work around it and kind of resolve what this explicitly obviously says, which is don't do it, with what we see in the world around us, which is, heck, our gay community is on fire. We need help. And so there are a lot of ways to interpret it that kind of make it okay. Mm-hmm. None of which are perfectly satisfying for me personally, but it's getting there. Change happens really slowly in the Jewish Orthodox world, and it is definitely moving in that direction of that there is awareness that this needs to be addressed. Also, here is where I don't know about, Christianity versus Judaism or other religions out there that also follow this holy book. In Judaism, we don't practice by taking the word of the Torah at face value. That is not mainly how we practice. And we have the commandments that are written in the Torah, but then we have some kind of bridge between the actual text and the way that we practice today. So it says, it says like, don't wear, now I have to think of an example. I don't know. We have a lot of really weird commandments. There are a lot of really wack commandments. Anyone who's watched my Bible book reviews, my holy book reviews videos will know that there's like some really whack stuff in there. Like, how to treat a slave woman that you took hostage. Like, why, in what world are we going to actually do that today? I mean, I'm not planning on taking a woman hostage in any war I'm going to anytime soon, but it's still there, plain and simple, just as plain as this verse about lying with a man as a woman. If you're walking around and you find a nest of someone's of birds' eggs and you want to eat them, there's like there's some commandment about how you have to like send the mother away first in order to be able to take the eggs in a like ethical way, and it's just like, so a lot of these things are really weird and you can't just read them by themselves. So we have a lot of commentators who come in and explain how this particular verse about this weird walk where you find a nest is relevant to the practical implications in our lives. And so even when we do see this very explicit, very obvious thing, do not lie with a man as you would lie with a woman, it doesn't necessarily automatically mean being gay is not allowed. It's not necessarily, there are a couple more obstacles in the way of leaping directly to that conclusion. Next thing is the hell. Going to hell. We don't have hell in Judaism. Fun fact. I'm very sorry for those who do, though. That sounds like a bummer. So in Judaism, we believe that everyone reaches the peaceful afterlife. Mm-hmm. We don't have a heaven or hell kind of thing. It's just sort of all go back to the plane. We return to the plane of souls. We believe that our soul is a piece of God, and it's like temporarily renting our body for use. And when we die, it just goes back to being a part of the spiritual whole that it was originally taken from. And so I don't know, I don't know if anyone in the comments has something insightful to say about this. Please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, please do.
What I think is, here's what I think. Here's what I think. In case it wasn't sure yet. It wasn't clear yet. I think we were, all of us, created in the image of God, which means we are a creature that God wanted on this planet the way that we were created. God doesn't make mistakes. That is canon. God doesn't make mistakes. God might be an asshole sometimes, but God does not make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And, I think that we also have a lot of much, much more prominent, much stronger commandments. And here's the thing I always bring up, right? Whenever somebody's like, well, here, Leviticus 18:22 in your face. If you haven't read Leviticus 19, you can't focus on Leviticus 18. Mm-hmm. Because literally one paragraph later, so you finish reading through the list in Leviticus 18, you finish reading through the list of all these horrific acts of incest and all sorts of really nasty stuff that you're not allowed to do, which is casually throws in also don't lie with a man as you would with a woman. And then the chapter ends, and then it's chapter 19, and it is a list of really solid ethical principles. Mm-hmm. Like Don't put an obstacle in front of a blind person. Don't curse a deaf person. Stand up and honor your elders. Don't seek revenge. These are it's like a moral code literally right after this. And one of the things that is listed there, Leviticus 19, verse 18, is love your neighbor as yourself, which is a very famous, very well-known saying, and that's where it's from. It's literally one paragraph later. And we have a saying, we have a couple sayings about this in Judaism, which is that verse right there, love your neighbor as yourself, that is the entire Torah. That is the highest commandment, and it trumps all the other commandments. And it's just the most important thing to focus on and the most important thing to practice. Mm-hmm. And so that's one thing is, no matter what you think of someone else's sexuality, no matter if you think someone else is doing something that is absolutely wrong and against your religion, you are commanded to love them no matter what. They were created in the image of God, and you're commanded to love them. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, we're also commanded to love ourselves. And this is, if you consider the script of the Bible, the Old Testament, if you consider that a sacred part of your faith and a practical element in how you practice and how you observe your religion, and even if you do take the Bible at face value, which, by the way, is really difficult to do because there's some really whack stuff in there. I don't know how you intend to sacrifice a red heifer. I don't even know if any of them exist anymore. And so, whatever, there's really whack stuff. Even if you do take it at face value, we are commanded to love ourselves as well. And that's a little later in Deuteronomy. And we are also commanded to be careful and consider our own lives sacred. And so I think here's how I get to, we're commanded to love yourselves. We're commanded to love God. It's Deuteronomy 6. I don't know the exact, I can't pull it out now. I can't pull out the English translation of it now because I only know it in Hebrew, but it's Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha, which is the first line in a paragraph that we recite every day. Jews recite every day multiple times a day, right? It's the first paragraph of the Shema. And if you're commanded to love, here's the logic. If you are commanded to love God, and there is a piece of God in all of us, therefore you are commanded to love yourself as you are, with all of your might. And that is fierce. That's not, I think.
You want me to come with you, honey?
You guys okay? Okay, sorry, I got distracted. Mm-hmm. I think you are, that it's not just that you can but that you should love yourself, but that you have to. If you live by this book, then you have to love yourself exactly as you are, exactly as God made you. And that is the way that I personally resolve that. I take it and I say, look, yes, this one line is in this particular context, and it's very confusing for me, and it sounds right. It's hold on a sec.
6/7/34
is your birth date. Yes. I'm in the middle of a big old speech here.
I hear it.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you need anything? You guys need anything?
Did you say that one of Nana's meds is out? Or almost out?
Just the new one.
Okay. Yep.
No,
I'm going now.
Else is fine.
CVS. You don't need anything, do you?
I don't think so.
Ooh,
No.
I do.
Okay. You do coordinate something from CVS. What do you need?
Is that Stephanie?
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi, sweetie. Great. Where was I? Well, okay. I was just concluding. I was just repeating myself and concluding. Basically, yes, there is this one thing that's awkward for me to read as a person who is queer. It's awkward. It's as a person who loves this book very much, it's very difficult for me to read it because it really does kind of look like or sound like God saying, me, I'm an abomination. It really does sound like that when you read it at first. It's hard. It's hard to read it. But there are so many other things this book says. So much more that this book has to give. And by far, loving our neighbor as ourselves and loving God with all of our might, and therefore loving ourselves with all of our might, are top priority. And we cannot follow this book if we don't prioritize, because there's way too many things that we are supposed to do in this book. And we have to prioritize, and we do. Nobody is gonna start saying that we don't pick and choose. We pick and choose. We pick and choose canonically. The rabbis pick and choose. Our leaders pick and choose. We always pick and choose. And so pick loving yourself. Choose loving yourself and choose loving your neighbor. Mic drop.
So, yeah, because the question was more because you have the full Jewish background, which I am very clueless on.
Yes, I do.
And I don't really subscribe to any real religion anymore. Growing up, my parents never had us do with anything. I had my first communion. Don't remember anything about it. But for a while in high school as well, my parents got back into the kick of going to church. And so I can kind of speak to the Christian side of this. And there's a few different arguments because in the Christian Bible, because I honestly don't recognize any of the names that you were saying. I don't know how different they are, biblically-wise. But the quotes in the Christian Bible, which I don't know offhand, I'm not at all as Liora is. But there was, I don't even know the show that it was on. It was like a Law and Order show where they addressed this,
I know. It's the West Wing.
West Wing. So that's a really good clip. Now,
it is a really good clip.
That clip, though, is that it doesn't address for somebody who does believe that hell exists and stuff. That's right. What it does. And it kind of negates it, which, if you're cool with that, then sure, because the Old Testament gets negated basically because of Jesus dying on the cross. And that's kind of like all the stuff about the sinning with homosexuality is in the Old Testament, which for Christians, that's there's a lot of shit with it. And the arguments was planting crops on the same side, or mixing cloth,
fabrics,
that'll get you stoned and stuff. And you don't do those things. It's only, again, the picking and choosing what people.
Yeah, no, we do the thing with the fabrics, I think.
Yes, Jace, I see that.
Oh my God. Okay.
I got that for a second. I was like, what? I'm like, oh,
I did not at all get that was a joke. I legit
you just went on that full rant and you didn't hear anything.
Evicted from an apartment a couple years ago, so I'm sorry, I recognize now. Okay. I'm so glad that you're okay.
I literally thought the same thing. They're just renting this, and I'm like, oh boy, they got a lot more than they asked for. There's a lot of repairs this rental needs, let me tell you.
Oh,
but if you do subscribe to being that hell exists and that
you're going there,
I think there are a lot of Christian pastors and stuff, priests, who can help you understand why that's not true. Because that's the thing, like you said, with rabbis, they'll pick and choose. And that's the same thing with the Christian side of it. People will pick and choose. In my personal opinion, as someone who has grown up with Christianity, number one, the Bible, I always call it the Bible, I'm sorry, was written by men. It was not written by God. It's meant to be interpreted but that's where I'm immediately distrustful because it's written by men. Two, because translation, context, and how we have grown as a modern society. If you lived your entire life completely strict to what the Bible says, you could not function in this modern world. And that's the beauty with humanity, is how we have evolved and changed and grown to understand and love. And that's the thing with Christianity. It is also supposed to be about loving thy neighbor, loving. I don't know too much about the self thing because I never really got that part in Christianity.
It might not be a Christian value.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
About guilt.
A lot of Christian value is repent, or wait, that might just be Catholic, but same kind of thing.
Yeah.
No shade, Catholics, but yeah.
No.
And that's actually a lot of things is most of the hatred towards LGBT is more within the Catholic faith, which quick side note. Hold on, there's a book you can read.
Ooh.
I just finished reading it.
Resources.
Heretics Anonymous.
Ooh.
And this deals with a guy who ends up at a very Catholic school, and he joins the secret club of heretics, basically.
Oh my God. I need to.
But it does address a lot of this, because one of the main characters is very Catholic, but she's a girl. She wants to be a priest. But there's also a gay Jew in their group of friends.
How can you be gay and Jewish?
Oh shit! But there's a girl who is kind of Wiccan, but it's just a much longer term for it. And so there's this kind of smorgasbord of characters that do address some of the topics that we're talking about here.
That sounds like an awesome book to read.
Yeah, and so that's where you kind of have to understand how the church has evolved or needs to evolve. And so it's like, oh man, love is never a sin in Christianity. You're always supposed to love, 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 love. Even to those who hurt you, like the turn the other cheek kind of mentality. That's the same kind of thing. So how could it be wrong to love someone? How could you go to hell for loving someone?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense within Christianity's rules. So that's my hot take on it.
I appreciate that hot take.
There you go.
I want to say one thing about the translation, though, which is that I do actually read this book in the original language, and it still says the same shit.
Wait, what does it say? Okay, wait. I'm speaking of that though. you were talking about one of the English translation about the male and female. Does have that? Okay, it does.
Yeah, that's the original.
Okay.
Yeah, male and woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, there are some interesting takes on that verse, which is one of which is, it's talking about a very specific sexual act. What it's saying is you have to treat a male partner in bed differently than you would treat a woman in bed, which, honestly, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't just go at it like they're the same. Think about it.
I love Jace's comment. I'm sorry.
Yes, I know. Yes, mixing fabrics.
Girl!
Yes. Yes, I saw that. That was funny. And there's another
eating as well,
and another kind of workaround loophole sort of thing, which is that yes, it's talking about a very, very specific sexual act, but nowhere does it say that two men can't love each other, or that they can't live together, or that they can't have a household and children. None of those things are mentioned. And so at that point, it's up to them to resolve this one particular aspect of their sexual relationship if they have it. And then that is kind of a little bit more able to live with that option. It's not perfect. It's a step. That's all. This does need a lot of work. And you're right. This is a very difficult thing to resolve within yourself. And yeah. Jace says, so in serious, I know a good bit about how Christianity got so homophobic. Yes, Judaism also probably got homophobic because of the Greeks.
Greeks!
Yeah, the Greek influence. Jace, if you want to come on here and talk about it, you're welcome to. Okay. But unless that happens, I think we should move on to another topic.
I did cave and order the macaroni grill, by the way.
Awesome. Yum.
And they gave me this giant thing of bread. Like, holy crap.
Wow, that is a lot of bread.
I'm like, I can't do that. I thought you were going to give me a roll. Fuck.
Okay. Questions, comments, feedback from the peanut gallery, but I'm going to have to call you the almond gallery because I'm allergic to peanuts. So
I'm allergic to almonds, so.
Okay. All right.
Sunflower gallery.
What?
Sunflower gallery.
Sunflower gallery.
That's what I
Okay.
can eat.
Awesome. All right. Let's do.
I love I had that incident at work today again about allergies.
I know.
And I had to confess my avocado allergy, and everyone, oh my God, you know thing. And I'm like, I literally don't know what I'm missing. I'm good.
That's lucky for you. I have tried Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
I have had them.
I like the sunflower butter cups now. That's a thing. Keep it healthy.
Okay, Alex says the Bible was written by a lot of different authors who had different opinions and that all aren't at all consistent. Okay, so here's the thing. There are just different views on this. And yes, there is the branch of Bible criticism does hold that there are a lot of different voices that imply multiple different authors of the Bible. However, in some particular denominations of Orthodox and religious sects of at least my religion, and I'm guessing probably of some others, it is considered to be the Word of God, whether or not it was, given through the physical body of a human. It is considered that person knew that they were writing the Word of God. And so even if that is true at the bottom of at the bottom line, even if that is true, it's not a good argument to help someone resolve the problem. It might be true, but it's still, it doesn't counteract the fact is I believe that this is the Word of God. Now, how do I resolve it? That's the issue. It's always of paramount importance to communicate while we're doing a collab. That is so real.
This is the thing, like if it was like several authors, I mean, they at least had to have an editor.
Well, yes. Yeah. So
what publishing company did this?
Right, exactly. I don't even think they were alive at the same time. There's like, it could have spanned a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of options, but it doesn't matter.
What parts are fanfic that got into the real? That's the other question.
They're right. Midrash is the fanfic, the genre that my friend says I write. I write modern midrash, but it ultimately doesn't matter because people believe that it's God, and that is what we need to work with. We need to work with that base assumption.
Yeah,
if we're going to move forward
and negating everything. That's why it's a struggle for me as someone who I don't really believe much anymore. It's very hard for me. There's always that inkling that I should be, but it's a struggle. And so when I talk to people who do wholeheartedly believe, it's very hard for me not to be like, well, it's fake, or not so much in those terms, but kind of the argument that you saw on the West Wing, because that negates their faith entirely instead of.
I'm going to try to find that clip, that West Wing clip.
West Wing. See, I don't watch court drama shows, so I don't know.
The Bible has its own fanfic.
What if the Bible was just
a fanfic of what though? I'm gonna try to find that clip because
it's a celebrity fanfic. This fanfic.
Lol.
I do that with One Direction.
Okay. West Wing on West Wing Bible scene is the first thing.
It's so popular.
Yeah, it's a great scene. It is very well done. It's just, the thing about it is
it makes anyone who has any Christian belief look dumb.
It's just yes. It's also it's really fun to watch as a person.
It's a great takedown.
Queer and critical of. And tired of having people be like, well, the Bible says that homosexuality is an abomination. And you just want to slam them upside the face with all the rest of the stuff the Bible says. It's really satisfying to watch. You know, because like, because if you're just saying that, and you don't think any deeper, you're just like, well, the Bible says homosexuality is a sin, is an abomination, then you deserve to have, the Bible also says it's okay to own a slave thrown at you. You deserve that. But if you are critical about it, and this is an internal conflict, which it often is, then it's just like,
it doesn't help.
Okay, but I don't practice those other things. Like, what do I do? You know, I don't own a slave. I don't, like, what do I do with this? You need a little bit more. It is fun to watch though, so I do recommend watching it.
That's what I really like about it. It's kind of like, because of especially with the mixing fabrics.
Right.
You can done this, like, kind of summarize this whole scene with, like, you know, because the woman is like, I don't say homosexuality is a sin, the Bible does. And my retort to that is like, homosexuality isn't a sin, but that outfit is. Which is how you can turn the mixing fabrics, but yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, what was the moment you came to know you were gay, bisexual, pansexual, etc.? Was it gradual, sudden, or something you always knew? So, I'm going to have to disclaimer here and say that none of the gay people are on the stream, are hosting with us right now. And they would probably have a very different answer to what you and I are about to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so taking into account, this is very different for people with a defined sexuality, such as I am a homosexual, and someone who is under the bi umbrella and someone who is under the ace umbrella. And if anybody in the comments wants to chime in and answer this question for themselves, please feel free. That is a welcome contribution. You want to take this first?
Sure. So mine was very gradual. I, for a very long time, just thought I was an ugly hetero. Because
that's the worst.
It's awful. Oh, trust me. Yeah, it's terrible. I spent a lot of my childhood, my preteen, my teen years, my adult years, just thinking the only reason that I am not experiencing the same thing my friends are is because I'm ugly and nobody wants me. Which was half true because bullied a lot. But because in my entire life, and I am almost 33 years old, I have had but 2 boyfriends, one for 1 month, and that was a mistake, and then one for 5 months in college. And neither of them led to, well, we'll get into the full details, but like, that's not, it was even clear looking back now on those relationships that this is who I am. I did not know the term asexual until 2011, when I first got onto Tumblr.
God bless Tumblr.
Tumblr educated me.
Where would we be without that place?
I would probably still be a sad hetero. That's what I think, or believing that's what I am. And I saw this post kind of explaining a bunch of different sexualities. And I was like, well, that's similar. And then I started to dig deeper and stuff. And for a long time, I'm like, well, clearly I'm probably Demi then. And I just haven't met somebody. And I let myself think that for a long time. And then I would talk about it. I didn't talk about it openly. I didn't like have a coming out or anything like that. Because there's always that little part of me that's like, well, you're not LGBTQ enough. So why do you have to do that? I know. That's
I feel it. I'm not even because I relate. Okay, I'm not even because I relate.
So like I did tell like my parents during a fight, but yeah, it was not a great time. But I've spent ever since finding that post, I spent a lot of time kind of contemplating, what does that mean? Is that really what I am? Or is that my excuse? Because every time I've told friends who are now no longer friends, they played that card of, Well, you haven't experienced it. You don't know anything yet. How can you have that opinion if you haven't experienced it? Or, you
Right.
know, you just haven't met the right one. Okay, maybe you should diet and that'll help you out. Thanks,
oh
Devin.
my God.
But that's the truth of what it's been like growing up for me, and even as an adult, because that last comment was fairly recent. And it's sad that that's a similar situation for most asexuals, is that we have very low self-esteem, and society kind of really pushes onto that, you know, obviously there's a reason nobody wants you and that you don't want them, and that's because you hate yourself, and you can't love anyone if you don't love yourself, which I freaking hate that line so much, because so what if I don't love myself? Like, I don't have to be obligated to. Like, sure, it'd be great to love myself, but it's just not my reality when society makes no effort to help encourage that.
Right.
And it's a battle I'm fighting on my own against billions of people, and that's really hard to do.
That is, you're outnumbered by a lot.
Exactly. So it's really, really hard to.
Except for Devin, though, because
Thank you, Devin.
they're right. Devin, you're right.
I work today. I don't look great, but anyway, yeah. So it's taken a long time for me to even do, and even to this day, I still question it, because what if I do meet somebody that I do want to have that kind of a relationship with? I don't know. I'm on the dating apps now. I'm trying. I'm putting in an effort, but not gone well.
Well, it's a weird time to be on dating apps now, anyway. Like,
I thought it was so
I'm
smart.
not delegitimizing your experience. I'm not saying it wouldn't be weird for you if it was a year ago, but it is also like.
So that's why I thought it was a good time to do it, because we wouldn't have to meet up where they would think we're going to do that. Now they have to actually court me via texting. Send me those, you know, long poetry rants, Darcy, and then we'll talk once the quarantine's over. My little Jane Austen heart was like, this could work in my favor. Now they have to talk to me and get to know my personality. Suckers! That's what's going to be my ultimate downfall. But still, it'll be honest. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Preside.
Okay. So for me, I spent a long time not knowing what I was and feeling really bad about it. Mm-hmm. I was in love with my best friend when I was in middle school, and in a way that kind of a lot of typical FF, you know, girl relationships develop. It was like we were friends, and then we were close friends, and then we were close friends who really liked long hugs, and then we were close friends who were kissing on the lips, and it was like, oh, huh. But I also had crushes on boys, and like the weird thing is my parents raised me in an unequivocally gay-friendly household. Like, there was no homophobia under our roof. It was not a thing. Mm-hmm. My parents were very clear about, we love everyone, we accept everyone. This was a big value in our home, and I'm grateful for that. It's amazing. And I didn't internalize it to apply. Like, I internalized it, but I didn't apply it to myself for some reason. Mm-hmm. And you know, even like, I knew that it was fine to be gay, but I wasn't gay. I just very obviously also was attracted to men. And so I just was like, what am I? Well, what am I? Am I gay or am I not gay? Like, how can I be gay if I'm also attracted to boys? And how can I be attracted to girls if I'm attracted to boys? And how can I just spent so much time not knowing what I was. And also did not help was the fact that my girlfriend asked a teacher of hers about this, and the teacher pulled the A word abomination. And basically said, there's this weird concept in some parts of Orthodox Judaism, which is where I grew up and no longer reside. But this weird idea in Orthodox Judaism that like, okay, so male-male relationships are explicitly forbidden, but like female-female relationships are not explicitly forbidden. And so it's like kind of, we don't like it, but like ultimately we can't tell you not to, kind of. And it's like in bad taste, but you know, at least you're not gay men. It's really weird. It's a really weird like idea. So that is what a teacher in my girlfriend's high school said to her. Basically, it's looked down upon, it's not considered to be good, and it's considered to be an abomination. But I'm not going to explicitly tell you it's not allowed. And so what do you do with that when you're 14? And you go home and we're like, oh my God, you know, what? And we were just, both of us, racked with so much guilt and so much pain. And I really didn't feel like I could talk to any of the adults in my life about this, which is obviously, you know, it was not correct, but it was what I perceived in what my 14-year-old mind was able to contemplate. Was like, I can't tell my teacher about this because what is she going to think? You know, what kind of person am I? I couldn't even tell my therapist about it. I went to see a therapist and I sat in her chair for an hour in silence. And she was the kind of therapist who would be cool with just letting me sit in silence and this faith with this belief that eventually I would be able to talk, and I was not. And I just kept trying to say, I kissed a girl. And if I had, she would have immediately said that's fine. And I just never could. I just couldn't get it out. And it was so much, I was so tortured with just this inability to say it to anyone around me until I was like 16. And I went to sleepaway nerd camp, where we got like university level science lectures in the Weizmann Institute. And I met a broader variety of people, of different kinds of people from Israeli society, rather than being completely encased in a bubble of, you know, Orthodox religious girls. Suddenly I met girls who were not Orthodox.
I filled the pill sorter. This is the rest.
Perfect. Into the cabinet, the sliding cabinet, the right-hand side, there's a bucket that has stuff in it, and the pills are in that.
Okay.
And so I met a girl, a secular Jewish girl, and I just knew that she wasn't going to judge me. And I told her, and she was like, I think that's totally normal. And I was like, what?
Talking about Will.
Are you kidding me? I've spent all this time feeling bad about it, and it's normal? Yeah. Well, come on in. I sent it to you on Facebook, right? I think I did. Anyway, yeah. And so there's this like timeline of me, you know, starting from the torture, internalized homophobia, biphobia, etc. And then me finally telling some girl at camp. And then I had not heard the word bisexual ever. Not until I think the first time I was 18, when I like found it on the internet somewhere, and I was like, oh, hey, that's me. And that's when I knew. Hey. I'm so happy. So,
do you hear me? Yep, there it goes.
Let's change this to like this. And so that's when I knew. And, you know, it's still, I also don't have a defined like time I came out or day I came out. Like people, I see like friends on Facebook, you know, celebrating like, hey guys, I came out 10 years ago. And I'm like, I don't have an anniversary. I don't even remember, you know, I remember telling my boyfriend when I was 18. And I think that might have been like the first time I told a person who wasn't like some random girl at camp. And then after that, I just kind of vaguely remember being out. I casually told my parents at some point, but it wasn't like I sat them down and I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm, because I knew that they would be fine with it because of who they are, which is great. I don't take that for granted, but like I never came out.
It's a very, very hard thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how supportive things are. I was saying in the chat there that growing up, my mom's friends were mostly gay men, which is, a really strange way to grow up. But even with that, I was unable to say anything to her. I did not come out to her until I was 19 and in college, because I just could not come out and say it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like you said, the most supportive environment you could possibly think of, and I still couldn't say it.
It's so weird that it's like no matter how supportive and loving and open our parents are, if they don't, okay, we still have it so internalized. And this I think this is why it's so important to have pride and why it's so important to have representation.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is who it's for. It's for the baby queers in the closet. That's who it's for. I mean, it's for us too. It's fun. But like,
I call them my gabies.
Yes,
Gabies.
exactly.
See, we're all creating new words. I don't know if you saw my lovely comment.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
You're great.
we're great.
Yeah.
Gay and straight. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Great. Perfect. Trademark.
Okay. Hey, Jake's comments. But now Jake's on the stream. What do I do?
Yeah, it was that in middle school. Seriously, they were just like, this is what gay means. It's like, oh, that's the word for what I'm feeling.
Oh, nice.
That's what you call it.
See, I actually have, one of my best friends, he's gay. I grew up with him. I've known him since like third grade. He had a similar situation that you guys did with the kind of fear of coming out to people that you love and trust. And so for my best friend, I mean, I've kind of always known, and that's why I thought it wouldn't be a big deal, because he had his whole group already kind of supporting it. Granted, this was, high school in the early 2000s, so there were probably comments that weren't so supportive as we all thought it was. But for me, it was always, he's my best friend, and that's nothing will really ever change that. And I'd known for so long, even though he did date like a bunch of my friends. There were many years where like one of us would have a crush on the other one, but never at the same time. So that was always fun. That was one of our long-running jokes. It's like, okay, next year you have a crush on me, remember? I think it's my year this time. I'm not sure.
I've read that book. That was a DNF for me.
Yeah, so while I was actually studying abroad in Japan, I was 20 years old. I've known him since third grade. He messaged me on Facebook saying, hey, when you get home, granted, I just got into Japan, so I was going to spend a year. He's like, when you get home, I have something to tell you. And I'm like,
what?
I just have to wait until I'm home. Like, that's not until next year. What are you doing? What's going on here? And I'm like, Mac, you can't propose to me. I'm sorry. This isn't making that. And he's like, no, it's not that. And I'm like, honey, are you like, I already know. He's like, who told you? I'm like, no one. I just know. And he was trying to make kind of a bigger deal about it. But because he had that same fear, he wasn't sure how I would react to him. And I'm like, I could hardly believe that. Like, I can't believe you're scared of me. I'm your best friend. That's gonna change. I'm just sad. Maybe you're not gonna have a crush on me next year, but fine, I can do this myself. So it's definitely something that I think a lot more people experience than what it looks like especially in media with a lot of TV shows or movies and their coming out stories that they portray as to be these big fanfare kind of moments. Or these horribly tragic moments. Like, granted, those probably do happen in real life as well. But I think for a lot of people, it's just that struggle to accept the self.
Oh, if I could go back and do it again, it would have been much bigger and much grander.
I would have baked a big old cake.
We're talking pinatas. We're talking cannons. We're talking.
I'm talking romantic show-stopping numbers.
Yeah. I would hold a boombox.
I'd
hold a boombox outside my girlfriend's window and just march in and kiss her on the lips and, like, you know, sure, that's fun stuff that queer people do not do.
It should be more normalized to do that, okay?
We should. I'm not
crazy promposals. Why can't we have this?
We should, absolutely. Well, because we're still working on being allowed to go to prom. Weirdly, in something.
New petition.
That is funny because I could have possibly, if I was courageous enough to be out in high school, there was a kid there that was given a very strong,
gay
look
vibes?
at me, not just gay vibes. Look at me, pay attention to me. I'm gay. Look at me.
Me.
And I'm like, and my internal voice is like, yeah, I see you. I'm not ready for that.
I'm not there quite yet.
Yeah, I'm not there.
Talk to me.
But so, if I could go back in time, I could have had a high school boyfriend.
Oh.
And I just wonder because it was a very progressive town, but I also heard things about like a couple years later how there were like a couple of same-sex couples trying to get into prom in my high school after I graduated, and they were not allowed to buy tickets as a couple.
That is just, oh my God. So funny thing is my year from my high school is considered to be the like graduating class with the highest percentage of LGBTQ people, where we are at 10%.
Wow.
A full 10%.
Woo! Double digits. Shit.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't know how old you guys actually are.
Very
Back in the 90s, we had this joke saying going around because they say that it's 10% is the what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
The percentage of people that are LGBT is 10% according to the demographic. Yeah. Our saying that we had fun with was 10% is not enough. Recruit.
Yeah.
So, like, speaking of kind of like that funny.
I do want to get on. There are more questions that we haven't gotten to, and I just do want to like kind of circle back to remember we are answering questions here. So real quick.
I just really quickly, just funny like prom stories and stuff about the baby gays and stuff. So with that, my best friend and stuff. So he actually ended up asking one of my friends to prom. And so I asked my ex-boyfriend's younger brother to prom, who is also like my singing partner. And the whole night, it was really, really funny. The whole night they spent fighting over who gets to dance with me. But the great twist is now they are both gay. They have both come out as gay. And I'm like, what is that about, guys?
We're gonna call you Liza now.
Thanks.
Um,
Yeah, fun times. Fun times.
okay, let's go to. Here's an interesting writing question.
Ooh, okay.
This is a trans focused question, but it does have applications in, other things. As I write primarily fantasy, magic gives a lot more transition opportunities than in real life. But would someone utilizing these be considered disrespectful?
I do not believe so. I am actually of the mind that as long as you are being respectful,
That's where the depends comes in.
Yep. You have a lot more leeway with magical things to be inclusive, because while people can argue left, right, and center about science says blah 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 about gender, metaphysics
Pseudoscience. Right.
you make up your own rules. In my world, I have 4 different types of magic that center on gender and sexuality, and it goes by what you are inside, not by your physical. So
Yeah.
a trans woman that is interested in women would draw on the lesbian magics, and someone who is
Your magic is literally gay. I can't believe this.
what?
Your magic is literally gay.
Yes.
Your magic itself is awesome. That is awesome. Sorry.
Someone who is dual gendered, the word.
Bigender, gender fluid, gender queer.
Yeah, so anything in the middle. Someone who is, in the middle, non-binary. That's the word I was looking for. Non-binary and bisexual would actually draw on all 4 magics.
The Avatar. I want to expand on this and just say that I think magically representing LGBTQ people is not the same as the magical cure for disabled people. Right. Because you're not disappearing the representation by giving magical means. You're actually just magically enhancing the representation. So the person isn't not trans. It's just they are magically trans, or they are magically gay, or whatever it is. But they're still, at the end of the day, they still offer representation rather than erasure.
One thing I would shy away from, though, is magically changing the physical body. Just because that gets into the territory of the magical fix. And saying that you can get into the realm of something is broken about a trans person.
You just have to be careful with it, because people do medically change.
Right.
And you don't have to necessarily shy away from that. This is a place where people who are not trans should do their due diligence in research to properly put this into a book, because people do some people do surgeries and transition, and some people don't, and there's just a big wide range of different experiences trans people go through. And so you have to really, if you're gonna, in general, I think the accepted consensus is don't write books about being trans if you are not trans. Do have trans characters, but don't go so far into the experiences and the struggles and the, all of the hate that they experience. Just put them there. Don't necessarily delve so deep into their story if you are not of that background. Cordy, I see you wanting to say something.
Thank you. Sorry. I want to give recommendations.
Okay, do that.
Okay, so for fantasy writing, especially in dealing with gender fluidity. Now, this book I did not like, but the author I do with a different book, and I don't have that book. So here's this book. This is Once and Future. It's by Amy Rose Capetta and Cora McCarthy, but Amy Rose Capetta is who I want you to
Pull that
focus on.
down. Can we just, how do you spell that? Amy
Rose, two words, Capetta, C-A-P.
Capetta. And
The
what's the
book
other
I mention that I want to say is The Brilliant Death. That's the book. So in this one, there is gender fluidity magic. And it works really well. And it deals with these characters who have these abilities to change things. And so our first main character in it can change a person into an inanimate object. And that's kind of how she protects her family from things. Is anyone who tries to kill her family, I'm like, all right, you're a freaking clock now. All right, jewelry box. But she doesn't realize that she can turn that inward until she meets this other character who has appeared to her both as male and female. And that's because this character just does it anyway. It's just who they are. And so the main character gets to learn this because now she has to pretend to be her brother in this high stakes fantasy, Spanish inspired world. And it's very interesting and a very good take at how you can utilize magic in gender fluidity. Granted, Amy Rose Capetta is queer. I don't know for certain if she identifies as gender fluid or something, but I know she does a lot of queer. This book has a lot of queer rep as well. It has non-binary stuff. It just wasn't executed great in the setting. Like, it's still great, but it wasn't a great written story. But her other book is great. Another one that deals with more magic and especially with trans is Anna Marie Miclemore. I don't
Would you type that into the chat as well?
Yeah, let me go on to the actual thing. So Anna Marie Miclemore, and she has a few books. This one, and her newest one. Oh, whoops. So those two specifically deal with, well, Dark and Deepest Red doesn't really have magic dealing, but has trans representation. When the Moon Was Ours does. And that deals with our two main characters. Well, we have a girl and a trans man who he hides the fact that he is trans. Everyone still kind of calls him that he is his man, but other people do know his secret of what he was assigned at birth, kind of thing. And there is another character in it who was also born male, but is now female. But it's not. They're trans. The magic of this river gave them their greatest wish, which was to give them the body that they desired. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting how it's done, because Anna Marie Miclemore as well is queer, and she does amazing representation in all of her books, and it's magical realism, so it's very it's an interesting take on all of this. But if you want to see good fantasy representation in utilizing magic and gender fluidity and orientation and stuff, those are some good authors, especially Anna Marie Miclemore. I just put her books back in my parents' house. I'm so mad. Oh, no. Yeah, and I just read Dark and Deepest Red, and it was so freaking good. Anyway, so those are recommendations that you could have for research on.
Awesome. So, yeah, let's quickly go through. There are a lot of questions on this topic about recommendations for good rep in books.
Cool, it's my favorite. I got a lot.
Okay, so we got a question for trans and a question for pansexual, and whatever else you got, bring to the table. And there's a question about this question: what is your opinion on writing a protagonist with a different gender or orientation than the writer? Is it problematic? How much research, etc.? And I feel like there's another one. What are some good examples of representation of pansexuals in books, film, TV? And there's a question about transgender man protagonists. If you have any of those, that's it. So we're going to go through those now.
Okay, now that I've read this month, hold on.
Cordy is going to bring all of this.
Hold on.
What?
I'm digging. Hold on.
Okay. So, in the meantime, we're gonna talk about this representing someone who is not exactly you, which we kind of did cover. Basically, do your research and put a person. Do represent, but don't make the story entirely about their struggle and their experience of being that way. That is, I think, generally the principle that is kind of people talk about, right? Do you agree with me, Jace?
The one thing that I would want to bring up is that you can actually get away with a lot more than you think you can, because a lot of it comes down with, as long as you're writing a complex, realistic human being, that is going to cover a lot of your bases. Just because, there's a lot of stereotypes and stuff, and I actually thought of like a way to do this for like any minority is to have a list of stereotypes that you thought up and just assign one as something, like that the character is against, and one that the character is like, this is 100% me, and one that the character is like, I hate this about my kind, but I'm hypocritical and it's me anyway. It's basically just like write a well-rounded character, and people will see that they're not just a caricature of whatever you're writing.
It's not just the token gay.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually struggling a bit with this question myself right now, because I have two characters that I'm about to write really deeply about as I begin to draft book 2 of my awesome, very gay Witches and Demons series. And one of them is actually trans, and the other one is kind of a metaphor for being trans in a weird way. So I have to kind of be very careful about this, because I'm not trans, but I want to be able to say, hey, this character is gonna experience some of the stuff trans people experience because of the way that she is designed. But also, I don't want to be too much, I don't want to like write about being trans because I'm not trans, because I feel like that's kind of unfair. The other issue is that the character who is trans starts on the wrong side of things. Like, starts out as an antagonist / working with the villains, and will have a redemption arc that will come later. But in the beginning, it's going to be the first introduction to this character is going to be they are bad, and like, is that good? Do I want to say that, or is it going to be read as me saying trans people are the villain? I don't want to say that. So I have to kind of really work through this and figure out what am I going to do. How I'm going to do this in a sensitive way.
Having your trans character starting out as a villain it's probably going to cause some people that are really gung-ho on things to not like your book. But as long as your story supports, as long as their experiences support how they act and what they do, like realistically, then that's them as a character. That's not you taking a stance on what a group is.
Right. It's not JK turfing.
Yeah. it's this character's experience.
Right.
It's not
their art. It's their motives. Okay. Also, in the chat, I just put a comment to a video from my channel where I kind of broke down a lot of stereotypes about bisexuals that I would like to see treated better in writing and literature and TV. And so please do hop on that and watch. And that can be a good resource for people who want to know, like, what kind of stereotypes should I avoid or remake or, make my character sarcastic about in bi representation. That is a good video. Okay. Oh, Qwerty, are you ready with your book recs?
So I'm just scanning my Goodreads list. Like, did I miss anybody that I could talk about that I haven't thought about in a while? But I have a lot. Some of them aren't explicitly stated as pan. The trans ones, I have more explicit one, obviously, for that. Did I miss anybody? There are some that it's just not talked about at all. Like, it's not, the word is not said, but like the attraction to multiple.
You know what?
Actually,
I think, okay, I'm just concerned because I want to answer this question. I got this amazing question that I also sent to you, Qwerty, by chat, that I do want to answer it. And we've already been streaming for almost 2 hours and we haven't brought it up at all. And so I'm thinking maybe we're going to take a break from the books and TV rep topic.
Okay.
Talk about this other awesome question that I got, and then we'll come back to books and whatever. Okay, so here's the question. It's in 4 parts because it's very long and I couldn't fit all the characters at once into StreamYard. So here it goes. I'm demisexual in an apparently hetero religious marriage. And the fact that this exists but isn't public knowledge, my husband and I discuss it openly, including the fact that if society were different, I could probably have ended up with a woman, makes me uncomfortable declaring myself either an ally or a proper member of the community. I feel like my school friends would not be at all surprised that I'm on the A spectrum, but that from communities, from is Jew speak for Orthodox / religious observant communities, from communities that I've lived in since it kind of disappeared under modesty. I'll break that down for people who don't understand what that means. Mostly I needed to actually say this to someone other than my husband, but I would appreciate some thoughts. We're going to give you thoughts. First, can you guys hear?
Yes.
I'm talking on the phone. I'm going to go tell her to be quiet. So you can start answering this. And I'm going to address the things that are specifically like Jewish community targeted. And please take the floor with the.
Can you put it back on the first part of it?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Right back.
Cool. Okay. So, I when I read this, I was a little bit confused by 2 statements here, and that's the I'm demisexual, and then later saying that I could have ended up with a woman. I was unsure if that was related with Demi being biromantic demisexual. But you absolutely, of course, have space regardless of that. As I already talked about before, about how being ace and being on the ace under the ace umbrella makes a lot of us feel like we don't belong there, because sometimes you end up in a hetero relationship, and that's the same with bis being erased in the very similar way, where if they end up with somebody in a quote unquote hetero relationship, then they are not welcome anymore, and that's really not the case. You're absolutely, if you identify this way, even if you're already married and stuff, you're welcome in that space. That's my take.
I am going to interject with there are a majority, I would say, of the LGBTQ plus community that are like, yeah, if you are outside of what is typical, then you are part of us. We will take you in. We love you. Unfortunately, there is also a lot of gatekeepers in our community.
Emphasis on gay. Gatekeepers.
And I disagree with them, but they exist, and they are unfortunately loud and outspoken.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So I can understand where you're getting this fear, because these people that you're afraid of do exist. But they are not the majority. The majority will take you in regardless of how close to the heterosexual norm that you are. How most of us will even take you in if you're completely straight and an ally.
That's true. It is true. Yeah, I just wanna reiterate what we said earlier in the stream, which is that everyone from after the L and the G, everyone onward, we all experience this thinking we're an ally and feeling like we're not queer enough to be a part of the community. And there are people who will say that, and it's just they are just wrong. They are wrong. Their opinion is not halacha. They are absolutely wrong, and it is just everyone is valid. You are valid. You are a part of the community, not an ally. You are a part. A is in the acronym, and whichever, if you are also biromantic or demi-romantic or whatever other definitions you are, if you are not straight, cisgender, or automatically attracted to anyone who is a particular gender, you are part of the LGBT community and part of us, not a spectator.
One of us.
All in
One of
this
us.
together. two routes there. You took 2 routes. Okay.
Well done. Okay. Now, I want to say a few things about the Jewish stuff that was brought up in here. So that's the being an ally. Okay. What they mean by saying that it disappeared under modesty. So in Orthodox Judaism, modern Orthodox Judaism, and any branch of religious observant Judaism, one of the principles that we kind of practice is body modesty. So we have guidelines for covering up our bodies, and they kind of vary between the denominations, but pretty much there are rules that are as explicit as sleeve length has to be so and such centimeters from the elbow, and skirt has to be such and such centimeters below the knee. And they're really, and the ultra orthodoxy is the most strict about this, that they actually have like they actually have to wear sleeves below the elbow and skirts all the way below the knee, but not to the floor. It's like it's very elaborate, very explicit, and it then kind of broadens and takes over a lot of other aspects, in that your modesty also is about behavior. It's also about your shirt being tight. It's also about your language. It's also about being loud and being sexual, and like basically all those things are considered not being modest. And so when you're a girl in school, we get positive feedback for modest behavior, which it's problematic in a lot of ways. But if you, for example, don't vocalize being interested in boys, then you're kind of like put on this pedestal of, look how modest you are and good for you, and and so it can kind of, if you're ace and you actually don't express interest in boys because you just are not interested in boys, that can kind of disappear and look like you're being modest, but you're actually just ace.
Yeah.
So it kind of flies under the radar in that sense. I wanted to say, in answer to this, that bisexuality also disappears under modesty in a different category, which is shomer nagia. Have you heard of that? Have you guys heard of that?
No idea.
So Shomer Nagia is a Jewish tradition practice, not practiced by everyone, not practiced in every denomination, but there are some that do, wherein members of the opposite sex are not supposed to touch physically at all. Mm-hmm. And so until they are married to each other, and then they can touch each other. But until then, zero contact. So like in some Orthodox denominations, a woman and a man who get married, the first time they touch is when he puts the ring on her finger, which is like, I'm going to try not to express an opinion about that right now, but that is in some denominations, that's how it's done. So as a bisexual, I did kind of try this when I was 14. Mm-hmm. And I was very weirded out by the fact that, there's a lot of hype around it about what it's good for and why it's important. And there's a lot of talk, which is very sex negative and very damaging, about how, you're supposed to like save yourself for marriage. And that makes your marriage sacred. And that, the whole idea of like being a chewed up piece of gum or a used up piece of tape, and, all the bad, terrible, damaging metaphors that we get in really bad sex education about how if you are, women are like basically,
the tape thing is in this, sorry.
Women
that moment is in this book.
Awesome. And, all hyping it all up about how, basically this practice of being Shomer Nagia is supposed to protect us from having sex before marriage. And here's the thing. It is very clear about it being between different genders. Well, what if you are also attracted to people of your own genders? This is where I was. I was like, am I supposed to not touch boys, but it's okay for me to touch girls? Like, it's okay for me to make out with my girlfriend? Because
yes, 100%.
Saying
exactly what it means.
It's based on all the stuff that they were saying about, protecting us from, the sex and the premarital sex and the sanctity of marriage, that like that didn't compute in my mind. It was like, but how can this not be, the same? How could this, obviously this is sex. Like, hello. So what I just felt completely invisible. I felt like I just didn't exist in the eyes of this law. I just didn't exist. It just was like, we have nothing to say to you. You don't exist. And I was like, ah! Anyway, that's that part.
You found the loophole.
I guess.
I wonder if this ever, this whole problem with like erasure and stuff will ever manifest itself into a superpower. Kind of like how it did in Buffy, where the girl was like nobody paid attention to her and she ended up actually turning invisible. We could have this army of invisible people.
Somebody else has that superpower.
They did have it. That was the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Bod in the Graveyard Book also has that.
Oh, I haven't read that yet.
You have to read it. It's so
I know, it's on my PBR.
Okay, it's really good.
Along with 800 other books.
Really, really good. Okay.
I can finally say 800 and not 900 because I've read 100 books this year.
Cool. Okay. So yes, now on to the thing about from communities. I did grow up in a modern Orthodox community, but I will say that, asterisk, my solution was to leave. And I do recognize that I probably can't give you a satisfying answer with how to resolve, staying in that community, which is something it seems like you are wanting to do, and you feel like that's okay and that's right for you and you should. My solution was to get up and get out of there. And I feel I'm sad about that. I'm sad and disappointed that the modern Orthodox Jewish community couldn't contain me or had too much homophobia going on that I just didn't feel welcome. And hopefully we are moving towards a new day. There is a lot of change that is stirring from below, a lot of movement to accept our LGBT members because we know that they are in trouble. We know that young, gabies, baby queers are suffering a lot and taking their own lives, and that is not right, and that we need to do better in the Orthodox community. And you can see this from Rabbi Benny Lau's amazing speech. He has multiple amazing speeches. There are like 3 rabbis I respect on the whole planet, and he's one of them. And he is a modern Orthodox rabbi, and he's considered like to be super, super woke and super whatever, radical, because he's very outspoken about absolutely 100% accepting and supporting the LGBTQ members as members of the Jewish community. And I also just want to thank you for messaging me and for trusting us with this information and with this question, and just to tell you that you're valid and you're loved and you are 100% a part of our community, the LGBT community. Also, I don't know if you are a part of this group, but please join Queer Aloof. I know that you are part of the Aloof group because I'm pretty sure that's where the question came from. But Q Aloof is an awesome group for queer Orthodox women. And people there, a lot of people there are not out. So if you don't want to be out, you wouldn't be the only person. It's a private, it's a secret group. You can't see, nobody can see you're in it. A lot of people are in the closet. There is huge respect for the closet, and just, it's a place to talk about this stuff and tell people. And you will probably find other people who are in a very similar situation to yours and can relate and empathize. And I would highly recommend that.
I have a question.
Okay. What's your question?
Well, while they type their question,
okay,
I have some books.
Okay. Where's the recommendations? Good recommendations. Okay.
And they also requested trans male, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start with trans male because I have a really, really good one that everybody should read. I don't have the first book with me right now because it's at my parents, but I have the second two. And so this is the Aces High Joker's Wild trilogy. It's an indie book, and it's absolutely excellent. It's not a genre that I normally read, and so this is like military futuristic sci-fi, which I was like, okay. But the main character is a trans man who is coming in as a commander for this kind of ragtag group that are like the wild cards. And he ends up kind of falling in love with the logistics officer, who is a gay man. It is great in its representation, both in LGBT and in mental health as well. There's a bunch of different characters dealing, because there's a death that happens, which is why the new commander's coming in, because the old commander died. And there are actually 4 books out now. They just came out with the next one, but it is also Own Voices, because O.E. Tierman is, it's a pen name for a group of authors, but the one that I met is also trans. And so it's honest and it's absolutely excellent. I don't know if I've loved an indie book more than I love these ones right now, at least that are currently in physical form that I can hold and touch, nudge, nudge, finish your book. But especially for trans representation, this is amazing. That is the only book that I have.
Can you type them into the
Yes,
chat?
I will. Let me type that one in.
I just want to acknowledge I do see these questions popping up, and Eva, I did see your comments about the Christian sects that have the thing. So I see them. Okay.
Me too. Okay. Okay. Do we want to address the question that Lucky Seven is typing now? Because that's the one real trans man book that's absolutely excellent that I also have with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Caitlyn Jenner, who is a trans woman, is against gay marriage, yet is in a relationship with another trans woman. Why have opposite political views as the life you live? And why doesn't Caitlyn Jenner support same-sex marriage? I'm going to start by saying, honestly, Lucky Seven, this is a question for Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I don't think any of us up here think that it's just cool to be a public figure and be a hypocrite, especially with something as important as this. I will say that the trans community, as far as I can tell, is not terribly happy with Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner is not, the excellent face of representation. If you want to see an awesome trans woman in the public eye, Laverne Cox. But Caitlyn Jenner has kind of been a disappointment to a lot of trans people in, spouting out transphobia and this own self-hate stuff, right? It's I don't know why she does it. I know people don't like it, and I know we don't think it's right.
And only do that, but yeah, that's the question for them. And
But the true answer to that is only within her own mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like there are just in different beliefs in general. Like we can have a gay person be a Trump supporter, or a Black person be a Trump supporter, and you can't answer that unless it comes straight from them.
Yeah, a lot of women.
We may not comprehend it. I definitely don't comprehend it. Supporting something that's actively trying to ruin your life.
Yeah.
But it's not a question we can really answer. So we can all just be like, well, that's really dumb. And we don't agree, but we can't really answer why, because we can't possibly comprehend it. It makes no sense to us.
I don't comprehend it.
Nope.
Especially when like a politician will come out and be like, I have so many gay friends. And we're like, really?
Do you know? Or did you pay them?
Are they friends? Are they real friends?
Are they bots? Did you make some bots?
Yeah. I don't know. I get very cynical about this. Dan Savage definitely gets extremely vocally cynical about this. I am, by the way, speaking of, on the topic of unpopular opinions, I'm a bisexual who likes Dan Savage. A lot of bisexual people don't like Dan Savage, and I kind of struggle with that because people have accused him of a lot of biphobia, and biphobia and transphobia, and I just don't hear it. I don't see it. Dan Savage, I think, is an excellent resource for a lot of people with all different kinds of sexual or relationship questions and things, and most importantly, when he does something wrong, he learns and grows, and that's like the only thing we can ever ask of anyone. He did start out, in the way early years of his podcast, like he started out using some terms that are not considered so cool to use, that I don't want to use myself on this stream because they're not cool. And just after a while, somebody corrected him and said, Dan, it's not cool to say this. And he went on and he apologized and he said, we don't say that anymore now on this podcast. And so he grows and he learns and he listens. And what else can you ask of anyone?
Yeah.
That's so Dan Savage is a really, really great.
That's what I think a lot of people don't give the chance to happen, is for the sincere apology and change to allow. It's an issue I have right now with cancel culture.
Yes.
Because we're humans. We make mistakes, but we're also allowed the moment to apologize and grow and learn. Like, I know in the past, I've probably done things and said things that were not cool. I know I've said things that were not cool, and I've learned from that mistake. And that's all we can do. It's more frustrating when you have someone that you admire who won't understand that, who, you know, has influenced billions of people with their books, and they won't see how they're wrong about things.
You shall not be named.
What? I'm not lying about anybody in specific. That's just a general statement about
It's really just
one person.
hypocritical. It's not about
Who
anyone.
may write, you know, fantasy and stuff, who might write about witches and
I don't know. It might be YA.
yeah, middle grade YA territory. Yeah, I think the character's name is like Barry or something. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, something like that where we need to do that. And it's an issue I see a lot with like corporations as well. Coming out, and that I have a whole video coming eventually about all this lovely topics, but is like we have to be careful with cancel culture. Obviously call them out when it happens, but see what happens next before you're just like, screw you, bye-bye.
Right.
And that's in friendships too.
Yeah.
Like 10 years or so ago, Target was actually on the side that everyone was boycotting for being, you know, anti everything. And now they are on board. I mean, they've officially made Juneteenth a holiday.
I think they're also famous for the gender neutral bathroom.
Gender neutral bathrooms, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think
Also Hillary Clinton.
that, but yeah.
One of the things that people said during the 2016 election, I'm sorry to bring that up. I know it's a painful memory for a lot of people. But one of the things that people said constantly about Hillary Clinton was she wasn't always on the right side of the LGBTQ fight. And you know what? You can't, no one is born on the right side of things.
Exactly.
And the fact that she was, by the time we were ready to elect her, speaking for the LGBT community, that should have been enough to know that that lady was on our side while, okay.
You just gestured to QWERTY.
Mommy, what?
Okay. Wait, what did you say?
You gestured to me when you said while.
Sorry. I was trying to gesture at the wall, and you just happened to be there.
Cover that now. You're canceled. I'm sorry. I'm out.
But really, people brought like old interviews of her from like 10 years previously or 5 years previously where they were like, see, she's not always been pro-LGBT. And I'm just like, I don't care. Because she is now. That's what's important. Not to quote someone who should not be named, you know, what's important is not what someone is born, but what they grow to be. I'm sorry. I quote her. I quote her all the time.
Good lines.
Very good lines.
Yeah.
Because the work is the antithesis of the author's personality.
Yeah.
Which is it's a serious disconnect.
Well, speaking of better versions of stuff, you guys should check out Carry On and Wayward.
Yes, you
Talking
should.
about some excellent characters here. I literally have just stacks of books surrounding me right now for you guys.
I did make a video though about and in which I talked about the one thing I'm displeased about in Carry On.
Yeah.
It's first of all, excellent male romance. I love it. Excellent. Gorgeous, beautiful. I'm in love. I literally kind of like tremble a little when I think about how good that book is.
Go back to chapter 61?
Yes. Oh my God. It's like I just could live there. But does not. I was disappointed in there is kind of a little bit of active bisexual erasure. Yeah. And that was frustrating for me. But everything else about that book is amazing.
Yeah.
So
and I totally get that part. Rainbow Rowell is what we deserve.
Yes.
In a wizarding school chosen one storyteller.
Yes.
That we deserve this more. A lot of people, just FYI, it is legitimately satire of that story, said story. And people don't know it actually came out of the book Fangirl, which the fangirl writes fan fiction for this, but couldn't obviously use that. So then Rainbow Rowell's like, I'm going to write the real thing. And people who don't know that connection are like, well, this is just the same thing. And I'm like, satire, that she wrote.
I recognized it right away as like Harry Potter fanfic. I didn't care. I was like, if this is the Harry Potter fanfic that is going the way I think it's going, I am on board. I am there for this. Okay.
I just saw
Oy vey.
Oy vey.
Oy vey. That's what I have to say about this.
I know.
It's very Crowder. Yes, your Crowder comment did go through. Yeah. Look, we are surrounded by very loud, very public figures who do say stuff like this, unfortunately. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard when someone who has such a big platform, who has such a big voice that we know that people listen to. I mean, I just today saw someone link an article to that the title of the article was like some
body one
senator. Yeah.
That was instinctual. I'm sorry. I already did that once today to another person.
It's okay. Some senator quoted the author who shall not be named in blocking of an LGBT rights bill. And that's the problem with this. Nobody cares what she thinks in her own head. What we care about is that she's a huge person with a huge following whose comments make a difference and get into people's heads. And then state senators use her words and use her opinions to actively block anti-discrimination and civil rights and other things that the LGBTQ community really needs. That is the problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very hard. It's difficult. I go crazy from this stuff. I really do. I mean, rabbis in Israel, the chief rabbi, I don't remember if it was the chief rabbi of Jerusalem or the chief rabbi of Israel, probably the chief rabbi of Jerusalem, said something about, us being an abomination. Oh, there was this one rabbi who was like a rabbi in a small town up north in Israel who said, we're turning this state into LGBT stan. And I hopped right on that. I was like, who's moving with me? LGBT stan today. I want to go.
For a second, I did not process what that meant. I'm like, okay, so they're standing LGBT.
No.
Like, I get it now because of, okay, I get it. Funny, I'm stupid.
We're in the Middle East. We have stands all around us nearby. Pakistan, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm racist right now. I'm sorry.
Stand in the place where you live.
I don't know all the stands. I just know that LGBT stan is not one of them.
And it should be.
It should. Honestly, doesn't that sound like an amazing place to live?
We'll go live there.
Bitchiest country ever.
Wait, can we take over the city of Djibouti? That could be the foundation. So, anyway,
I think there are a couple more questions from the forum. I'm not sure that I don't think we got.
I wanted to finish the recommendations for pans.
Yes, right.
And also, I have some trans authors. So I have one trans author. Her books don't have like trans characters and stuff, but she's an amazing author. Her name is Charlie Jane Anders. I've met her. She's amazing. She has like pink hair. Like, wait, I think her picture's in this. Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, which way's the camera?
Which way's the camera? So that's her. She literally has that hair still.
Victoria Schwab also looks like that.
Yes. Charlie Jane Anders is amazing. Is a trans author and has just really good. The book that I haven't read this one yet. I want to really bad. The other one I read is called All the Birds in the Sky, and it deals with a mad scientist and a witch who are best friends. Okay. Cool. It's amazing.
I was gonna say, Lucky Seven, I'm gonna have to ask you not to say stuff like that on my stream. This place is inclusive for people of all faiths, including ones who do believe in God. And please, don't go in that direction. So, you can retract your comment or I can put you in timeout, but I'm sorry, that's not allowed.
Okay.
Yes, more books.
More books. So other author is M.K. England. Not confirmed if trans, but definitely queer. And their book, The Disasters, is the one I have read. I'm waiting to read this one. Does, I believe, have pansexual rep in the main character. I don't know. I can't remember if it's explicitly stated, but they do have feelings for multiple people in their little crew that happens. And it's also freaking hilarious. And you should definitely read it. You can see the book. I've already reviewed it as well. But M.K. England, this is their newest book called Spell Hacker, which also should have LGBTQ rep. I don't know for sure because I haven't read it yet, but it's there. Of books that I have rep, another one that has pan, I believe pan. Again, can't remember. This is where, because bi and pan are under this umbrella, so it's never explicitly stated, but you can see it. That is Only Mostly Devastated by Sophie Gonzalez. This is a queer Greece retelling. The main romance is between two gay men, but one of the characters does kind of come out as bi/pan. It's not explicitly stated, but it is shown that she has attraction to both men and women in this. And it's really short read. It's very hard. It's kind of hard hitting. There's a point where I actually cried in it. But it's super cute, especially if you love the musical Grease. So that. Again, Rainbow Rowell hitting us again.
Yay!
We've got Pumpkinheads. This is also by Faith Erin Hicks. It's a graphic novel. This character here is Pan, I believe. Her name is Deja. And they all work at a pumpkin patch. And she's like dated everybody in this pumpkin patch. It's really funny.
That is the real Pan experience.
Right? I just read The Merciful Crow.
Yeah. QWERTY froze, or maybe only for me. I don't know.
Oh.
She did not freeze for me.
Okay, we got a question here in the comments. I don't know if that's relevant to our topic.
Not at all.
I don't think that's so. Yeah, we're not going to answer that. That's just not on topic. Yeah. So
Merciful Crow, as well. It's in a fantasy world where it's not explicitly stated, but one of the characters, one of the main characters, because there's like three main ones, does show the case that they're attracted to multiple genders or multiple people. And then there is also a gay prince in this as well. And then we have Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. What's the character's name? I'm going to go mad if I don't remember it, because he's like one of my favorites. We have Enrique, who is probably bi, but there is the one character. It's gonna drive me insane if I can't remember his name, because he's like the best. But he is Hypnos. Oh my god, his name is Hypnos. He's definitely
the clay is
identifies as Pan, but again, this is a historical fantasy fiction kind of thing. So there is that.
You're never gonna stop, are you?
I only have a few more.
Oh, okay.
But those are mostly all like the Pan books. If you want a book that has amazing representation all around, you need to read Libba Bray's The Diviners. She's got like everybody.
Holding up the King of Crows.
Yes, I don't have the first book.
Oh, okay.
This is the fourth one, but it's by Libba Bray. So this is the fourth book in it, but The Diviners is the first one. It has representation all the way around, and that's kind of the point in it, because it's set in the 1920s, where minorities don't really have a voice, so she gives them voice with historical fiction here.
Would you like take a minute and sort of chuck these into a Goodreads list or something?
I will definitely do that, and I'll post that.
Awesome.
I will just mention very briefly, I'll just show you very briefly the other books that I want people to read. If you want good queer lit, we have Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, followed by Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy.
We were talking
about line in this that I didn't appreciate for Aces, because the main character in this one is Ace. And then we have gay in here. Oh, we have bi, pan. Monty could be both. I don't know what he identifies as, but he definitely loves everybody a lot. But Felicity, his sister, is Ace, but there is a line in this that does have another female character be like, well, you just haven't had it yet. And I'm like, excuse you. Really great for sapphic romance. These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. I'm literally reading the sequel right now. It's amazing. Also has bi rep as well. The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper has gay rep. We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Magia is a sapphic romance where two women are forced to marry one man and they fall in love with each other, and it's great. And then other people have said Skyward is ace. I don't know if I 100% agree with it. It just doesn't have a romance in it. But the sequel, like 70 pages in, there's a thing that happens, but again, it's not really addressed. So unless Brandon Sanderson tells me, yes, Spencer is ace, I'm not quite believing it yet. But you can interpret as you will. And that's the end of my list.
It's not good representation, you know, if you don't really like.
And that's the thing. It's because because it's not a part of the story. The story is so much bigger than that. And she easily could be. I don't know if he has explicitly said it. I just know a lot of other booktubers have put this as a representation for ace in there.
Wait, so are you saying that an author saying that their character is part of a group after the book has been published isn't appropriate representation?
Yes, James!
Oh, sorry. Merciful Crow is Alex. Sorry, Merciful Crow is by Margaret Owen, and The Faithless Hawk, the second book, is coming out next month. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, great, awesome. I do have
I'll put them in.
a note to the very tail end of this question, which is I did ask in a group because I was not familiar with a lot for TV, for good pans on TV, and here's what we got. Oh, P.S. Collie on the Hawk has pansexual representation.
Hey.
Deadpool apparently is pansexual.
Yes.
I didn't see the films. I didn't read the comics. I don't know this. Apparently it's like more in the comics, but it's canon. Deadpool is pansexual.
There is a huge shipping thing with Deadpool and Spider-Man.
I see that.
Oh yeah.
I have to admit I'm not deep enough in the fandom that I can really always tell them apart at first glance. Also, David, is that the character's name on Schitt's Creek? Where there's the iconic, wine scene with "I like the wine, not the label," which I have a link to here, and I will also share in the chat. Is pansexual. I do have one beef with this stream. This scene, which is that the metaphor is not accurate for trans. It kind of threw trans under the bus a little bit, and I think that was kind of I was not so cool with it. But it's a great metaphor for pansexuality and bisexuality and like gender non-binaries.
What the?
We are not judging books based on their merit. Cordy judges books based on whether they are good or not.
Yes.
And sometimes by the cover. But we are people explicitly look for. We got a question in the form that was explicitly asking for books that do have good LGBTQ representation in them, and that's what we are addressing. And we all agree to this.
Yeah.
Okay, here are the very last questions because I'm getting vibes from inside the house that we do need to kind of wrap this up. I think this is it. I think this is the last question.
Can I just say, give me your money? Sorry.
Yes. First of all, give us money. How can heterosexual, cisgender, the people who are the sexual or gender majorities support LGBTQ plus people? That's a really good question. Mm-hmm. And this is, a really great thing to talk about. And, we're going to say a few things, but also don't only take what we say. Ask your friends. Ask people you know. and listen and take what they say as well.
Yeah.
So who wants to chime in on this?
I would just say compassion, humanity. Just treat them like people. I mean, that's pretty much all we want.
You mean to tell me we're people?
I think, looking at myself, that I bear striking resemblance to a human.
Well, that sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, we want to be treated like people. Yeah, the whole rage about the whole LGBTQ movement. We're not trying to take over the world or anything. We just want fair opportunities. We just want the same things that straight people already have. We want to be able to get married. We want to be able to have kids. We want to be able to, walk down the street holding our partner's hand without getting weird looks, or in some cases being a target of a victim of violence. We want to be able to have someone look at us and, not address us as, just as I, a cis woman, do not want to be addressed as sir, a trans woman does not want to be addressed as sir either. These are little things that, the cis heads take for granted, and they already have, and that the LGBTQs also want. And we just... How can you support us? Love us, accept us, apologize when you have made a mistake and said something that is queerphobic. Don't get defensive. If someone says you said something transphobic, don't be like, I'm not transphobic, or that is not the definition of transphobia, or don't like get all up in, it's not me, it wasn't me, I didn't do it. Listen, and if you made a mistake, apologize and learn from it. That's all we want, is just to know that there's someone to talk to, and that we're not just hurling ourselves at a wall. That's really what, this is the She Who Must Not Be Named, the author who shall not be named. The reason people are so mad at her is that this is not the first time she has said, something horribly transphobic. It's that she keeps doing it, and she keeps doubling down, and instead of listening to millions of people worldwide who are telling her, you are wrong about this, and you need to just change your mind, and you just need to, either not talk about this if you can't change your mind, or you need to realize that you're wrong. And she just won't. She won't change her mind. She won't apologize. She won't shut up. And that is not the right way to do it. So just be the opposite of that. Learn, be willing to change, and apologize. And Cordy and I, at least, I know we're both big advocates of accepting people when they change, as opposed to cancel culture. Jace, are you on that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If somebody comes to me later and says, you know what, I realize now that I've realized that actually you're right, trans women are women. That's all I ask. That's all I want. And buy me a coffee. There's a link in the description. We do.
I got one too.
I didn't put your link in my description, though. I'm sorry.
Well,
I can add it. I'll add it.
I'm voraciously trying to add all the books I've been telling you guys about to a list, so I can give you it.
Is there anything you want to add to this question?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm ditto basically what everybody has said. I don't know if I have anything new to add to that. Just acceptance and not being a big poopy head. That's kind of mine. You guys, you really said it all.
Yeah, I think maybe there's just one more thing I want to say, which is, don't just be supportive around queer people. Be supportive everywhere.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are in the closet, and you don't necessarily know you're talking about us.
Yes.
And so talk favorably and kindly about all the different, about lesbians, gays, bisexual, pansexual, transgender, queer, questioning, ace, intersex, non-binary, and it's okay if you don't know all the labels. It's okay if you get confused and it's too many letters to keep track of. Just be open to learning and, just be open to listening and learning, and also talk to kids about these things, because all three of us have said on this stream, we suffered from the lack of talking about it around us. We suffered from, even if our parents were like openly accepting of other gay people in our lives, we still were not able to talk about it. So talk to your kids about, even if they haven't come out, talk to them before they are able to come out.
Even if they're not gay.
Even if they're not gay. Even if
talk about it.
Every single one of you, even if you have 18 kids and every single one of them turns out to be cisgender and heterosexual and white, talk to them, because then they'll know how to love their neighbors like themselves. And that's the message of this stream.
Boom.
Boom.
And just remember, some of us out there are ninja gay.
What?
Some of us out there are ninja gay.
Ninja gay.
You don't know.
I didn't know that ninja gay was an identity. See? We have to learn.
We all learn new things.
And you say this stuff against our people, and we're here just taking notes.
Yeah.
Because you think I'm straight.
Fooled you!
Yep. I'm a covert agent.
Covert agent. Okay.
Undercover by.
I've got the list.
Okay.
Hold on. Going to my thingies.
I think I'm gonna end this stream.
Okay.
Wait, I wasn't done. I think I'm gonna end the stream by reading my poem Pride that I wrote many years ago, and it's my first poem to be published.
I put the link to the list, by the way, in the private chat whenever you want to put it in there.
Yeah, okay. So I am going to put that list. So here we go. Books with good LGBTQIA plus representation. And I'm going to read my poem, and then we're going to sign off. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So this is my poem, Pride. I don't remember when or why I wrote it, but I did. And it is published in a literary activism online magazine called APT, which is a part of aforementioned productions, the 501c3. I don't know. There's all sorts of boring facts about the magazine. The point is, it's published, and that's awesome. So here is Pride. My pride is made of a million specks of shame I've shaken off my back over the years. 100 girl-on-girl kisses under the blanket so no one would see. A trickle of my bleeding heart for every time I sat in silence while my friends said homophobic things, not knowing they were talking about me. My pride is made of thousands of dust bunnies from all those years in the closet. Every shard of brokenness from being told my love was an abomination. Beads of sweat from all the extra pounds of guilt I carried for being too close to someone, for loving them too much. My pride is made of every fragmented word I wanted to shout from the rooftops, but instead I swallowed the vacant echoes from every time I told her I loved her and she told me, and we couldn't share that with anyone. Piles of leftover chalk dust from learning all about the sanctity of love and sex that did not acknowledge my existence. Heaps of pencil shavings and whiteouts from all of her efforts to fall in love with a man. My pride is made of whispered summer camp confessions where, for the first time, I discovered I was not alone. lists of excuses to miss girls' night until finally I came clean and admitted it made me uncomfortable. Awkward in between stages of starting to come to terms with who I was, but still not knowing who to trust with the truth. My pride is made of numbers. So many numbers. The number of years that went by between the time I learned the word gay and the time I learned the word bisexual. The number of times I went to pride as an ally. The number of times I've questioned my identity, which, by the way, I'm still counting. The number of close friends I've had who were politically opposed to my right to marry a person of a similar gender and told me so without hesitation. The number of gay, lesbian, and transgender teenagers who are thrown out of their homes each year and driven to drugs, prostitution, and suicide. The number of bisexuals forgotten in the previous line. My pride is made of remnants of persecution and death, stigma, and disease. The hands that muffled the screams of injustice and inequality, and every pair of eyes and ears that simply turned away. My pride is made of anger and laughter and every color of the rainbow and glitter and face paint and partying and the bittersweet taste of progress that is not yet complete.
Yeah, that's right. It's poetry. My bad.
That's all right.
I love it.
Okay. Yeah. I love it too. I think it's awesome. Read free on my website. Links below. Okay, so let's do outros.
Yeah. Jason forgot to do an intro.
I don't have anything prepared because I'm like not active on stuff right now.
Whatever. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Just make sure they know you're not a bot.
I am not a bot.
It's been Alexa the whole time.
Click the button.
I am Jace Maxwell, and I am the token gay male for this stream.
Also token man.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
So you think.
What? Plot twist.
Sorry, I assumed. Is that your outro?
Yeah, because right now I'm getting into editing stuff, like editing business, and I don't have anything set up to promote.
Okay. Well, all right. Cool. You're valid. Q?
All right, I'm QWERTY of the Q. I'm also the author of the Ashport Archives. You can check them all out. They have a lot of diversity in them with lots of different LGBTQ rep with an ace protagonist because I am the ace of base right here. I saw the sign and it opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. Yeah. And I post videos every Monday and Thursday, usually in the BookTube and AuthorTube realm, so you can check me out. Hey. Over.
And thank you. I am Liora Sophie. This is my unicorn. I am bisexual and not subtle about it. I actually have this flag in like all of my live streams and a lot of my videos. And I write urban fantasy and spiritual fiction. And I make videos also not just about writing, but also about mental health. New thing. Turns out I know a thing or two about that. Who knew? And this is my channel. And so please subscribe, hit the like button, and I do host a lot of these things, a lot of these like panels where we talk about stuff that people are apparently interested in. And so, come back, welcome. Basically that's me. I have some published pieces that are also linked. There are links below in the description. They're mostly my spiritual fiction short stories. And I am working on a really awesome novel series that has so much LGBTQ representation that I forgot to include straight people, and they accidentally tumbled in. No, it's my two of my main characters are straight, but they're the only straight ones pretty much in the universe. So
The entire universe.
yes, the entire planet, which is planet Earth because it is urban fantasy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Earthen fantasy.
Right. Yeah, so that's it. Hi, Kat. Hey, what's up?
Hey.
I'm not sure what you are referring to. Can you just tell us what you're answering there in that and we're gonna end this.
I have to go to bed.
Yeah, we all have to go. We're gonna go now. But I'm really interested in like what Kat was asking about. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I don't know what to.
God DM us.
What did you not hear about? Anyway, but yeah, we gotta end the stream. So
Okay.
message me, Kat. We'll talk.